Okay, welcome everyone to our home modifications panel. I am super excited about this panel because we hear about so many different home modification certifications and what one to take, what one's good for this type of business, what's good for another type of business, what do the occupational therapists that have taken them think. And so we have someone representing all of the different certifications. And we have therapists that have taken several of the different certifications. So I think that it's just really exciting. So what we'll do first is we'll go through and we'll just have each therapist on just introduce themselves and what they're currently doing, and then just tell a brief description about what certifications you have done. And then after we've gone through everyone, we'll come back and then we'll kind of talk about one certification at a time. And then the therapists who have taken that certification can kind of chime in on their thoughts and educate us about that. And then we'll have some time for question and answer. Does that sound okay, panelists and everyone? So, okay, and I'll just kind of go how you guys are on my screen here. So Alicia, do you want to start first?
Sure, can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, my name is Alicia Heaston. I'm an OT and I've been one for about 20 years now. I've worked in many settings, but for the past 7 years, I've been in home health. And I currently have the CAP certification and the executive certification in home modification. Those are the two certifications that I hold.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. Sheila, you're next.
I was just making some quick notes. Thank you for kicking us off, Alicia. My name is Sheila O'Connor. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and I've been an OT for over 40 years. I'm currently the rehab director in a CCRC, and I also have my own consulting business called No Place Like Home, and I do consulting in home modifications and accessibility. And I have the CAP certification. I got that first, and then I got the executive certification in home modification, and then the CLIPP certification.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheila. Sheila's also been a mentor for our Next Level Occupational Therapy platform ever since we started. So, okay, next is Megan.
My name is Megan Dooley, and I live in Manda, North Dakota. And I currently teach full-time at a university in North Dakota, and then I run my own mobile Part B practice that kind of dabbles in home modifications and a little bit of everything. I am CLIPP certified, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. So,
thank you, Megan. Okay, Sue.
So I'm Sue Doyle. I'm in Vancouver, Washington. And I've been an OT for over 40 years. I have my own private practice, predominantly in home modifications, and have had for almost 5 years. And I have the CAP certification, which I got first. And then I have the Certified Home Accessibility and Modification Professional, or CHAMPS.
Okay, thank you, Sue. April, you're next.
Hi, everyone. I'm April, and I have been an OT for almost 13 years, the majority of it in home health. I have done a little bit of pediatrics as well for 5.5 years. And the certification I have is the CAP certification. And then I also have the one with Age Safe America, which is a senior home safety specialist. And I have started my own mobile outpatient practice for occupational therapy and home modifications.
Fabulous. Thank you, April. And Liz.
Okay. Hi, I'm Liz Carolyn. I live on Long Island in New York. I've been in OT about 20 years, mainly home health. Just recently started my Med B practice this year. I have the executive certificate of home mods and also the CAP certificate.
Great. Okay, so before we dive in deeper, for all of you guys that are on tonight, if you could put in the chat section, when you do the chat, make sure it goes to all panelists and attendees. Let us know if you have taken any of these certifications. That would be great. And if you haven't, let us know like what ones you're most interested in. That will just give the panelists some ideas of, you know, what you guys have done that are in the audience and what you're kind of more interested in. So, well, how about we start with the CAPS certification, because that seems to be the one where almost everyone has taken. So why don't we start with that one? And Sheila, maybe I'll pick on you first. Do you want to start with kind of an overview of the CAPS?
Yes, I'd be happy to. And I took this certification probably 10 years ago. So some of you that have taken it more recently, I'm sure there have been many updates and improvements. But what you do to even find out where it is in your area is go to the National Association of Home Builders, and then they will, you just have to identify where their courses are and then see what cities are close to you. And the closest for me from Asheville was Atlanta. So I drove down there on 3 separate days over the course of probably a couple of months. And it was a one day course. There's 3 sections, and it was taught by a female home general contractor. So that was really great. And the thing I liked the most about it was that I was the only therapist in the room at that time. It was all interior designers, builders, contractors. So really great to hear their perspective, and I'll just stop there just so everybody else can have time to contribute. But I thought it was a really good basic course. Yeah.
Okay, good. Alicia, do you want to go next? When did you take the CAPS course?
I took it in 2017, and I believe it was a 2-day experience for me. 3 sections. I believe it was a marketing section. It was a design build, and the third one was the business, like how to run the business and manage your business. Like Sheila said, I think there were 3 therapists in my class, and the majority of the other people were contractors and designers. There was not a lot of, being an OT, there was not a lot of medical background with it. It was just strictly contracting, how to do certain things in that manner. And they did have a person come in there who said, well, this is where you put grab bars and this is where you put this and that. And from the medical background, for me at least, it was a little challenging, in terms of, well, why would you put that grab bar there? But the biggest difference for me, it was great information, but the biggest difference is the medical piece of it, being a healthcare professional. And I guess I was just thinking it would be something different, but the other side was the other side of the course was wonderful, wonderful information. But the medical piece was just a little lacking, I guess. But that was the intention of it.
Okay, good. Sue, you took the CAPS training too, right?
I did take the CAPS training, and overall, I have to say, I didn't find it that useful. There's some recognition that you get from the building industry, maybe, and from the professional industry. The course, to me, again, if you're looking for something to give you information on what to do, like if you're new in the area and you need the skills, it's not the course for you. I found when I was looking at trying to do contract information or understanding more about building, Washington State L&I offered training for general contractors that was free. And I went and did the training on that for a day. And that was much more useful on setting up building, setting up contracting, and understanding things like that. So that was helpful, but I thought it was good. I'm going to make connections. There were several builders in my area that attended the course. But what I found was that once the builders do the caps, they don't feel like they need you. That was the impression I got. They feel like they knew what you knew, which is very different. So Sheila, LNI is our labor and industry, which does workers' comp and stuff, but they are the people that run the contractors insurance and do training and stuff for general contractor. So I got more out of running the business, learning about contracts, learning about insurance stuff and things from that day session than I did from the CAP session overall. I did it because it gives validity. It's nice to put it on my stuff and my, you know, all my marketing information that it's on there. But I think if you're trying to start out and you don't have a lot of information on doing home modifications from an OT perspective and things, I'm not sure if you're limited on finances. This would be my first course I would start with.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Sue. April, you've taken the CAPS too, right?
Yes. I agree with Alicia. There's not a lot of medical background that they give. They touch very briefly on a couple diagnoses that are pretty common to people. It was nice to be able to, so it offers you 3 days and you don't have to take it all in one sitting, all 3 days. So again, I like that as well. When I'm in Vegas, I forgot to mention that earlier. Now, when I took it here, of course, a lot of people come to Vegas for shows and so, or for conferences. And so there was a lot of people from everywhere, which was nice because then you get different industry people. Like there was people from AARP, there was people from the VA, there was 2 other OTs, and then construction contractors of that sort. And then I took the other 2 days in San Diego, California. So again, the one in California was only 2 other people. So it wasn't as big as the one here in Vegas, but it was still nice to get different points of view. But I do feel like it's definitely more geared towards contractors and construction. They weren't opposed to hearing the OT medical side of it, which was nice because then it gave them a different viewpoint. And then like Sue said, it's definitely, I think one of the biggest reasons why I took it was for the same, it's nationally known and you use that on your marketing material. So it kind of lifts you up just a little bit, having that national accreditation.
Awesome. Thank you, April. Liz, you took the CAPS too, right?
Yes, I did. Actually,
Okay.
I took it about a year ago.
Okay.
Or a little more than a year ago. And I agree with them. It's really not medical based, you know, and there were a lot of contractors, but my issue primarily, there was really nothing in New York. I had to go to Connecticut. So anybody I met, I couldn't really network with, whereas they were all making connections because they were all in that same area. So I think it would have been even more helpful had there been something on Long Island. The only one was upstate, which was about a 7-hour ride. It was easier to go to Connecticut. So that was the one thing I was hoping to make some connections. But I agree that you have the CAPS after your name and it, you know, but it was an interesting course, but expensive, but you know, I was hoping to get a little more networking out of it.
So I'm actually taking the CAPS right now. And I signed up merely because the price they were offering for the people in our next level group was only $575 for all 3 of the courses. And then it was online, so we didn't have to travel anywhere. So I kind of did it for the title behind for the title, certified aging professional. No, what is it? I should know the title. It's been a long day. Certified aging in place professional. But anyways, just so you guys know, or can see, I've only done the CAPS 1. So, and it was the marketing and communications with aging in place client. You know, and again, it wasn't really anything new that I didn't always know in that circumstance. So, I mean, they did kind of divide it into 3 different areas as far as like who we could be marketing to and so forth. And I know people in the course were asking lots of questions like about, well, how do you charge people? How do you do insurance, or how do you do this and that? So now, and then they were wanting more information like on how do you know, like more of the building type stuff. And I don't know if that's going to come because I haven't taken it before. But that's the first one. And then this week we have the design concepts for livable homes and aging in place. And then the third one is the details and solutions for livable homes and aging in place. And the instructor that's teaching ours is actually an occupational therapist, Gail. So that's neat as well. And I mean, it's predominantly occupational therapist in this round of courses. But I mean, we have a real estate agent and a builder and a couple other people with that are taking it. So before we move on to another one, does anyone have any questions on the CAPS courses that you want to ask people? One question was, I was CAPS certified, however, I didn't renew my certification. Is there a way to recertify, or do I have to take the course all over again? Does anyone know the answer to that?
When I took mine in February, they said that you have to stay up to date and take like other design courses. It doesn't have to be CAPS, National Home Builders, that classes. You just have to submit to them. So I'm sure if they wrote in, they'd probably, you know, take a course or 2. I don't know if you have to redo the whole entire CAPS.
And yeah, there's some, like you have to do, oh, okay, Angela, go ahead. You can unmute yourself, or you can type your answer in the chat section. I can't remember what I was going to just ask, but we'll move on to Jillian's question. Are there CAPS programs more geared to OTs? And I mean, it's not, it's just one program. It's pretty set with what they cover and what they can cover and so forth, right? Anyone have anything to add?
Yeah, but to me, that was the beauty of it, though, because that was the first course I ever took with all these other professionals, and realizing there's a whole lot of other people that have an interest in this area. It's not just therapists, it's not just OTs, you know, so that's the beauty of it, I think. And we come with all the medical background already, you know, that would be redundant. It's more of learning the other sides of business.
Yeah, it's not the course to provide you with the information to be an OT in this field. I think that's the piece to be clear with that. It's to give you more of an understanding of the field from a builder's perspective and to make some of those connections there. And I think some of the other courses, as we talk about them, would give you some more of that other information.
And the bottom line is the builders have to take continuing ed if they want to stay credentialed with the National Association of Home Builders. So this is a course they can take. So keep that in mind too, that they're taking it for that credential.
I know what I was going to say now. You have to do so many continuing education units, and you have to pay a fee every 2 years. Is that correct? For the CAPS to keep that certification?
It's every year. For me, I know it's every April.
Every year? Okay.
Like
and how much is
$85.
it?
85.
Okay. We've started a chart. We haven't finished it yet, but we've started a chart listing all of the different certifications and costs and things like that that we can share with everyone when we get it done. Okay. Yep. Angela, go ahead.
So I called National Home Builders Association because my credentials expired 10 years ago. And I asked them what I had to do in order to get it reinstated. And they basically said all I had to do was do 12 hours of CEUs and they would reinstate it. So I did not have to retake the entire CAPS certification course over again.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you, Angela. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Sorry I couldn't do that before.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
So Angela, I think if I remember correctly, some of those CEUs can be like from the National Kitchen and Bath Association, who offer free CEUs. Some of those courses are free. There's some of the other courses that you can get that are free under the, there's a design place. I'll post some of the in the links, but there are some free options that fit their criteria with that. The other thing is doing something like one of the other certification courses as well. Those can count too. So like doing the CHAMPS or doing the ECHM or the CLIPP or some of those can count towards it.
Awesome. Okay, and let's see, someone had, Sherry, I definitely try to get as many discounts and deals for Next Level as possible. So I will be reaching out to Gail to see if we can do something and maybe make something a little bit more on a permanent basis for people in our program. So just keep on the lookout and we'll let you know what comes out of that. Okay, how about we go to ECHM next. Sheila, do you want to start out on that one?
Yes, so I think I took that maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it's based out of the University of Southern California, the Leonard School of Gerontology, and it had a lot of OTs in my course, but that was interesting because they were from a lot of different places. There were 2 therapists from Tonga and a lot of therapists from Canada, and so that was interesting because there were therapists from outside the U.S. And there were some designers too, and some architects, and some people that were in the public sector, nonprofits. And we had 5 different classes, and you can choose to take them sequentially and pay a smaller fee to take them all at once, or you can take one class and wait till the next section and then take another class, whatever you can afford to do. And I thought it was excellent. It got a lot more into the details, I would say. And we had homework, and we would take a course, and there'd be 2 weeks time to get all the homework done, and you did stuff together. It was all online, of course, but you did stuff together in teams and then stuff on your own. And again, I won't take all the time. So other people that have taken it, a lot of you are nodding that have taken it, so you can chime in. But anyway, I thought it was excellent. And I continued, one of the professors I've continued to collaborate with, so that's been really great too.
I couldn't remember what the ECHM stood for. So Executive Certificate in Home Modifications. Okay. And yeah, it's for everyone. I had thought it was just for OTs, but it's for everyone too, right? Like you said. Okay. Okay, Alicia, you've taken that one too?
I have. I took it the latter part of 2018, and then it rolled over to the beginning part of 2019. And I took all of my courses back to back. And I think, like Sheila mentioned, it was a 2 to 3 week course per or time frame for each course. And it was a lot of homework, but it was really good. They really, they focused on a lot of legislation, background, history in the beginning. And then they did a lot of the homework, and the activity tasks were geared toward where you are in your city or town. And I'm right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. So we had to go find a lot of information and statistics. They gave you websites and just resources to use for your homework, and you had to report that back. There was a section specifically on grab bars and placements, how to take measurements with certain patients. My class had more therapists than other professionals compared to the CAPS. They had projects to where the construction side was a little bit difficult for me, but there was one good project where you actually had to redo. They gave you all this background information, and it was a lot of background medical history, a full scope of everything in terms of the family dynamic, the resources, the patient and the family had in terms of financial, and how you had to piece it together to use the resources they had with their family dynamic to come up with their outcome based off their diagnoses, the issues that they were having. It was really, really comprehensive. And you had to actually do a floor plan and remodel that floor plan. So that was a little challenging for me, but I learned a ton of it, a ton of stuff. And it was like Sheila said, it was excellent. And that's the only, I've only done 2, but that one by far is the most beneficial and comprehensive to me, in my opinion. And the resources were wonderful that they gave you.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. Liz, you took that one too.
Yes, I did. I took it probably about 10 years ago. That was really my first introduction, and I loved it. I did them all in a row. Same as Sheila and Alicia was saying, man, I learned so much, and I liked that it was geared a couple of the assignments to the area we lived in, because everywhere is so different. But I would highly recommend it. There is a lot of homework, but you learn so much from that course.
That's one thing I've heard, is that there's a lot of homework and it's a lot of work. Like, how many hours do you have to put into this course when you're taking it?
If I remember correctly, certain courses were longer than others, like the project where you had to where you had to actually remodel or redo their project, the project. But I would say, I'd say probably in a week, I think I was doing probably about, maybe 5 to 8 hours a week, after, working. I do remember it was kind of, really had to pace myself, but it was intense, but it was a lot of good information. So.
And did you guys have to take a test or anything in that, or just complete assignments?
Yes, for me, it was a final test at the end, and you had to pass that.
Right. Yeah.
And is that after all of them, or one after each section?
That final test was after the whole course.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we didn't mention this with the CAPS. After each day, you have a test, but it's pretty easy. She tells you pretty much what questions are going to be on it, so forth. But like with this test, is it a little harder and more work?
I would say so. Is it just the 3 of us, Liz?
Yep.
Okay. I would say it's harder. You do have to study, but there was an OT that taught one section of it. He's the one that did the one where there's the case study and you do the whole floor plan, the whole home remodel. And I found them very accessible, and that's why I formed a great relationship with the interior designer who was in Phoenix, and she's continued to mentor me. But they're very accessible. But almost every night too, like you said, pace yourself. I'd come home, get online, and do the homework that we had. Like some of it, you did have to connect with, as I said, other people in your group and read their projects and give them feedback. So, so they try to keep you linked together and to learn from each other. So almost every night there was something I would do for an hour or 2.
Yeah, that's not a class you want till the end, because it's if you pace yourself and it's so interesting that you actually want to do it, you really learn from it.
And
awesome.
Like Sheila said, the feedback from those projects and assignments were, that was great too. Especially that case study in terms of when I submitted it. I remember when he responded, he said, well, did you think of this? Did you think of that? And I'm like, oh no, I didn't. So not only do you just do the work, but you get tons of feedback from it, and just ways of thinking about doing it, just different alternative ways to tackle that assignment. So it was really good.
We have a couple questions. what's the overall foundation of the course? Design, products, funding, etc.
The overall foundation, it touched on all of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Such great detail.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
courses, yeah, I would say it, you know, in detail, it touched on all of that. I don't think there was just one thing that they focused on.
Okay, and we are actually having a speaker from them coming in next week, Thursday. Is that right, Sue? Coming in and talking more about that course. How do you use the things you learned in your practice from the ECHM is another question if anyone wants to answer.
Well, like the funding sources were really good because that's part of the homework. You have to go into your facility, your city, I mean, and look at, like in our case, you know, I found out Habitat for Humanity has a whole division that they will pay for some home remodeling. I mean, they'll do some bathrooms, some kitchen. I mean, they say they don't do the whole gut of house, but they'll do specific things, ramps. So like that was really helpful. I mean, we had to really go out and meet people, and at least I did, to really sit down and talk with people to find out what, like your area agency on aging, and then under that, your council on aging. I mean, they go through how that all does work in terms of the funding from the federal level to your state level to your city. And so you have an idea that of what resources will be available for people that can't afford it. And so that was really helpful, and that's still helpful. Yeah, that was kind of the background that I've always, that has stayed with me, and the connections I made at that time. But then the floor plan, wouldn't you say that, ladies, Liz and Alicia, that was helpful too. That was the first time I really had to draw out a floor plan, and I had a friend that was an architect, so I took it to her, and she helped me. So it was just learning the language. It's a language we don't use, a lot of terminology we don't use.
Right. I know I was doing home health at the time, and I didn't realize all the resources that were available until I took that course. And then because it made me look for different resources, and it was so helpful. You know, definitely that was before I was doing, you know, part B, but that definitely was able to help a lot of people rebuilding together in all different areas that I didn't know was out there.
Agreed.
Okay. Fabulous. Okay. Oh, did we talk about cost? Do you guys know how much that one cost? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I think it was about, because I did them all together, I think I paid like $1,000. I think it was, I want to say it was almost $200 each course.
Okay. I was thinking it was around the 1,000 to 1,200.
It might be discounted if you took them all at the same time. I seem to remember that.
I think it's discounted if you take them all at the same time, and I think there is an AOTA discount too.
Oh yeah, yep. Okay. Awesome. Angela, thank you very much, Angela. She just looked it up and it was $1,000, but discounted for AOTA. And then Kimberly asked, if you are unable to do ECHM right now, do you recommend earning the digital badge through AOTA to get familiar with home modifications?
I mean, I think like anything, just the more you learn, the better. And so whatever you can afford to do, if that's better for you, by all means. It's not something we learn in school. It's not something you could just step out and do. So
Right.
it's years of ongoing education.
Great. Okay. Let's move on to CLIPP. Megan, do you want to start with that?
Just before we do that, Cara,
Yep.
I'm not sure what AOTA is doing with some of their programs now. They used to have a specialty certification in home modifications, but that whole piece is being redone right now. So you might want to, I mean, the digital badge and stuff is not really costing you a lot, but just watch out for where their changes are coming and what's coming there. And I'm just posting for those who have CAPS. I'm posting some courses in there that will potentially qualify for some of your CEUs that are, most of them are free.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Sue. Okay, let's move on to CLIPS. And first, what does it stand for? I think it's
Certified Living in Place Professional.
okay, awesome.
Yep. Do you want me to go?
Yep, go ahead and go, Megan.
Well, I took it, I found it to be, like you guys kind of said, there's other professionals in there. I was the only OT in my class. I took it because there was such a huge discount when COVID hit. So in May, they kind of cut their price in half, and I thought, why not? Also, the general contractor that I work closely with, they had just completed their caps and said we would rather kind of be able to showcase multiple certifications when talking about each other and things like that. So when I dug into it, I know I talked to Sue about it too and was like, well, I don't know what to do. And so I took it. For me, I'm kind of biased because my sister is a pretty successful interior designer in the California area. So for me, I worked with her in the past and it was good. They spend a lot of time on very specific modifications all the way down to, you know, your hoses for your washer and your HVAC system and those type of things. But for going out and just starting into home mods, if you're looking for some of those components that everyone else talked about, like finding funding and, you know, that type of thing, they don't touch too much on that. They did take some feedback from previous courses that there isn't a lot of medical background and tried to put some of that in there. But again, I think that's to really help educate the other professionals that are in that group, which is nice because then they do kind of get a taste of it. But yeah, it was good. I don't know if I would have taken it if it wasn't greatly reduced. That was a big sell for me, and I didn't have to travel, so I got to sit at home. And in all honesty, that was kind of my big selling point with it, is to get to meet some people, get some, you know, recognition outside of OT with some builders and things. But I don't know if I learned anything that was outstanding to being an OT in home modification.
Awesome, thank you. Sheila, what are your thoughts?
I want to be very respectful because one of the owners of CLIPP is married to an OT. So I do have respect for that. And you can see that in the presentation there. You could, like, same with though with CAPS, their OTs were heavily involved with that development, because you can, as you listen, you're like, whoa, I just hear OTs laced through this. But for me, CLIPP, and it was the last one I took in this series. It was, to me, a little too basic, Megan, kind of what you're saying with, in terms of the healthcare stuff. Like I at that point, I don't need to hear about Parkinson's. I don't need to hear about strokes. I don't need to hear about head injury. You know, I've done it all my career. I know that stuff. But for the interior designers in the class, they were like, whoa, this is so interesting. So it was wonderful for them, for the non-medical people. But like they took a lunch one day and had us all do that stuff we all had to do in OT school, where somebody had like glasses simulating glaucoma, some macular degeneration, and some we had to wear gloves for a decreased sensation. But stuff that we all had done as OTs. So I was like, but all of the other people found it so fascinating. But I would have liked more. I kind of was hoping for more hardcore home modification. I felt that was lacking for me. I was like ready for, okay, let's really get down to it.
How many hours is the CLIPP, or how does that work? How many days?
Was it 2 or 3 days? 2 days. I know.
I truly can't remember. It was 2 or 3. It was during COVID for me, so one day turns into 7 days, and you still don't know if it's a different day. So yeah, it was 2 or 3, I think.
Okay. Yeah, someone said that they noted that it was 3 days on that. So, and yeah, I know they've reduced their price for COVID, like you said, and is it down to like 800 or $699 is what it is right now. So did you Did you take the course, or has anyone else taken the CLIPP course out there? Let us know. Or do you guys have any specific questions on the CLIPP? Is there a test? Do you have to pay money to be re-clipped every year? Or I mean, what's the process with that?
Yeah. They do have a renewal fee, $250, I think, something like that. And they want you to take courses, and they offer a lot. I do say, I get emails from them constantly, and they do have like lunch and learns online now. And they have a topic, and I think they make an effort to keep people really plugged in and networking. Would you say,
Okay.
Megan, that?
They also offer like they're trying to develop a home assessment platform and they're trying really hard to get that up and running. And I have tinkered with it when I've done home evals. It's a little too much for what I'm typically doing to navigate, but they are, very often looking for feedback on how is that platform working. It is pretty nice. I used it with the company that I work closely with to send them photos, and it's not super hard, but I mean, you can take pictures and measurements right on everything, and then it'll create a PDF for you and send it on. And so they're trying to include that into some of their stuff, which if that's the path you want to take, like that's great, because there is that option there. What else is on here?
So like I said, we'll put together we've started this spreadsheet so you guys know like what ones do you have to recertify for, how often, how much that is, and so you can kind of have an idea. Are there course requirements for this one that you have to take so many credits or something for the CLIPP? Or do you just have to pay money every so often?
Seems like they want you to take some of their courses. Is that right?
Okay.
As I recall.
Okay.
And then yeah, a renewal fee.
And you can also, at least before COVID, you could offer to teach a section too, and that would automatically pay for your annual renewal. Or they were trying to get more people, because they had a faculty of like 3 people when I took the course. They'd have different people come in and do a section. Like an interior designer did a section.
Okay. Sheila, you might be the only one to answer this since you're the only one that's done both the CLIPP and CAPS. But other people can answer it based off of what you've heard. So if you had to choose between CLIPP and CAPS, which would benefit the most?
Oh boy, I hate those kind of questions. It depends, I think, on where you are developmentally with your skill sets. Like I think if you were totally new, CLIPP might be better because it kind of gives you the broad brush of home modifications. And the 2 guys that founded it, they're wonderful and really entertaining and really caring people. I mean, I found them to be great. Because CAPS is just the one day of each of those topics. So it doesn't go into as much depth in home modification. You're trying to get a better understanding. Megan, would you say?
I feel like, yeah, and I feel like CAPS, truthfully, is maybe well nationally known. I mean, you hear CAPS, especially outside of the OT world. You hear a lot of, builders and things that are like, oh yeah, CAPS. But with CLIPP, yes, I felt to not just looking in the manual, but just the knowledge that they bring forward. They do bring quite a bit, and they really are in tune to some of those things, like not just putting grab bars up, not just doing, the basic modification. They do bring a lot of that knowledge into their discussion, which I feel if you're not, familiar with construction or home modifications or anything like that, it's great. And it's also great because the people in the class are really getting an understanding of that. And they do tie in how you should all work together, which I think I appreciate a lot too. And I know I've heard CAPS does the same as well, so I'm not speaking towards that, but yeah, CLIPP definitely said there is a reason for each other. So that was kind of nice. I think we even did like a discussion point on how, we kind of play our roles in this. So yeah, I think it would be great if you don't have any, but I think you're right, Sheila. And when Kara asked that too, I think you really have to consider what you need Me personally, when I hear things, I need more, where do I find funding, and not so much what piece of equipment to put into a house, you know, some of that legislative stuff. And so I think you really want to look at that yourself personally, instead of just picking what maybe seems the most popular at the time. So
Yeah, trendy. I was going to say that. Yeah, that's true. That's really
Awesome.
true.
Okay, how about, let's go April with Age Safe America.
It's convenient that it's all online. It's at your own pace. It was about $400 for the certification, and the ability to go at your own pace is nice. I think with our OT background or physical therapist, if they were to do it, it's maybe not the best course. If you are brand new to home modifications, it will definitely help and open your eyes up to looking at basically starting at the curb. Your home safety assessment starts at the curb of the house and everything that you have to look at. It's not just the interior of the house. Paying more attention to like what areas of the home is the patient going to access, and then address it from there. But being in home health for so long and in the medical field already, it was kind of like, maybe I could have spent my money somewhere else. But I had signed up too, because, you know, sometimes things just kind of catch your eye and you're like, oh, that sounds really good. And then afterwards they're like, maybe wasn't so good. But the advisory membership, they're trying to do kind of like the CAPS with the national certification. So when you sign up, you can also do the registry for a year. So if anybody goes on their website and it's in your area, then obviously they'll send you the referral. So that's a nice part of it too. The one thing that I was kind of bummed about, and just being a new entrepreneur, I was hoping for a little more guidance and a little more like kind of coaching call, I guess, almost. And they don't really provide that. It's like, here's the course. If you want coaching calls, it's another fee. But if you do sign up to be an advisor with their membership, then they send you a ton of material. As far as like marketing and rec cards and like how to start up a network and how to set up your home office, and just for people that are just starting out, giving you all those ideas. So that part of it was nice, but that's not included in the certification. That's only if you ask to be an advisor. So, and because it's all online at your own pace, you don't intermingle and see what other professions are in it. Taking the courses. There was part of there's an OT that works for the company, and he talks about kind of one of those like life alert pendants that has the GPS tracking and stuff. I had set up a call to chat with him about it, and I never got a chance to complete that call. So I don't know what else that device entails, but they also talk about marketing that as well to seniors.
Is that like a tool that they've created that they market, or?
To be honest, I don't know, because I didn't finish that call. They had just said that it's an OT that does it, and it's part of something that they add on to like sell. And then I think you get part of a commission if you get somebody, like a referral fee for using it.
Okay. And is there a fee you have to pay every so often, and continuing education you have to do?
There's no continuing education, but there is the yearly fee if you want to stay on the advisory membership board.
And have you gotten any referrals off of that, or no?
No.
Okay, any questions for April on the Age Safe America?
So I know they have their checklist. Do they have any software, or is it just a paper checklist that they encourage you to use when you do their safety evals?
It is a paper. They do have one checklist, and then they also have one that's a little bit more detailed, but they do send you all those files, and yeah, everything is paper. It's not no, like, I mean, you can upload it to your tablet and have people sign it off of there, but like it's just paper.
Okay.
And they also, like, if you do the advisory, that's when they provide all that. For just the certification, they'll give you the checklist, but like for the advisory, they give you, it's like a 60-page thing, and it's got like a fall prevention in it, and it has like networking and the RAC cards and all that good stuff. So that part, I mean, that part of it's nice being a beginning entrepreneur, like to have that to kind of help you, guide you.
So, but that was an extra additional cost.
Exactly. Yeah. Just the certification is just the assessment. And they do offer, they also give you a referral, like contractor fee. So if you do work with a contractor, like a kind of a handout to go through to make sure that the contractor's a right fit for you.
Okay. Awesome. Let's talk about the champs, and then we can, we'll come back and answer, Yolanda, some of those questions. So the last one we have to cover is the champs. And Sue, I think you're the only one that's done that in this group.
Yeah, so the champs is a 3-day class, and Corey came and talked to us, who set it up. He's an OT. And so there is a recording for those in the Home Mods program, and I think you have it available for people to listen to. But it's focused on working in workers' compensation. So it really helps you understand the workers' compensation field, who are the players, what is involved, who are you responsible to, and then it goes through how to do an assessment. You do it in Florida. I flew there and did the course right as COVID was breaking out, and probably as I got it. But it was a great course, and they do it in Florida because he holds it in his dad's big business. It's a big restoration company where they have this house that they flood regularly for restoration, but you can come in and actually go through in a team and you map it out, and you design the modifications for a particular client, and then you come back. The key part was really great in terms of, getting some design input and ideas and suggestions, knowing to learn what is considered medical necessary for the workers' compensation. And then the other part with it was you're doing it with case managers, catastrophic nurse planners and managers, assurance adjusters, and then some DME providers that work in the home modifications area. So it was good getting all those points of view and everyone working together with that. The worst part, of course, was you come from all over the country. The other piece of that, though, is some of those companies, the TPAs or the third-party administrators for workers' comp do operate all over the country. So it gives you an idea of some of those players and some contacts. I have used some of those contacts several times, more than I have any of the CAPS contacts for information or where to get advice. In terms of being able to make connections and referrals from it, of course, immediately I flew home and they closed us down for 3 months. So it was really hard, and it's hard now to get back in. But I'm now getting a workers' comp attorney and a personal injury attorney that are asking me about what I'm doing. And so working with there, it gives me the knowledge and the more information on that piece. And then Corey is now reaching out to look at how to help people with getting some referrals and things across the country with that. Now, if you are on the East Coast, it's much easier to get referrals because his network is stronger there. It's not as strong on the West Coast where I am as well. So that's kind of some of the pros and cons from it. I learned a lot from it. And of course, Florida in February, when you're in the Pacific Northwest, wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But it's really helpful, and I've referred back to the book several times, the resource that we got from it, in terms of some design factors, in terms of looking at medical necessity, in terms of, I learned a lot about writing out a scope of work And that was the first time I kind of encountered it to that extent and being able to do that.
So Corey is the only one that teaches this, and it's only offered in Florida. Is that correct?
That's it at the moment, yes.
Okay. Is he talking about offering it virtually at all somehow, or is it?
He's trying to figure out how to do that because it's really difficult because you actually like go through this house. Like you get in Teams and you actually go through, take your iPad and Magic Plan or whatever tools that you have. And so trying to look at a way to come up with an alternative for that. But that actually real walkthrough experience with a case was really helpful, and then come back and problem solve afterwards. So, you know, he's trying to think about how he can do that in the virtual environment.
Okay. Did you mention how much it cost?
I did not. It was $800. But you also need to get to Florida and stay for 3 days. But I went with a colleague, and her and I shared a room, the motel, and they took care of busing us back and forwards. The room was a very good price, and they provided most all of our meals.
And do you have to maintain that certification then too?
At this stage, no. And he's looking at, though, being able to offer some mentorship as you start out for reports and writing. And then I know one of the other OTs that I attended the course with, she's been able to sit in on some of his presentations to the insurance companies and a couple of the hearings that he's had with the third-party adjusters in terms of here's presenting my ideas and designs, here's what I'm thinking. We're talking predominantly catastrophic cases and significant modifications in this area. So you're going from not necessarily looking at grab bars and a simple ramp to major modifications and catastrophic diagnoses usually.
Any questions specifically just for the champs? And then we'll get into kind of like the ones that address all of them.
I have a question for Sue. Is that the only course or certification that you know of for workman's comp?
Yes, and that was one of the reasons I took it, because I like to do a lot of work in my Medicare, Medicaid, developmental disabilities market. And, you know, the Medicare rates and stuff aren't awful when it's just you, but trying to look at being able to blend some markets that have a little bit higher return. That was one of the things I was looking at when I took it. And this was the only one of the courses I could find that dealt with that.
Thank you.
Okay, so questions. Angela, Sue will put a link for the champ. And we did a webinar on that recently too. Okay, so does anyone get referrals for based off your certifications? Like because your CAPS or CLIPS or ECHM, has anyone gotten referrals based off of that?
I would say no. The general public has no clue. It's just like everything, Kara, that every course you offer, we remind people of that, you know, that, and every website course I've taken too, they say, you know, don't talk all about your credentials because no one knows what that means. No one cares. The average consumer doesn't know what any of that is. But it's just, it's for you. It's building your knowledge base. You know, that's how I feel. And I just met with a builder recently, a contractor, and it was helpful to be on the same page because he had taken the CAPS course. So that's a place of starting a conversation. So that's how I see it. I don't look for it to have someone say, "Oh, you're a CLIP person." They won't know.
Anyone else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I agree with Sheila. It's more for your knowledge because people won't really know what it is. but it's good. I've had contractors who say, oh, I've done CAPS also. So they feel like there's more of a connection. But in terms of the consumer, I haven't had any referrals.
I think in the work compensation area, CHAMPS is starting to get a name because Corey Staber is, and the
First couple pages are just instructions on how to use the planner.
I think they're starting to get a name, and that's playing with some of the third-party players. And in this case, this is where you have to think that the client isn't the injured worker. Your client is actually the workers' compensation. And that's kind of a slightly different perspective for us as therapists. And so they're actually paying the bill, and they're paying for all the modifications. And they have their final decision on what modifications they're going to do, but you're providing them with that skilled information. So that's kind of a different take when you're in that workers' comp field.
I think it's not a direct referral either, like we talked about, but that it gives you the knowledge sometimes in these courses on how to get connected with someone. And I think that's one of the benefits of it is, oh, I should talk to an interior design person about that, or I should seek out, you know, or look for this in a general contractor. And I think that helps build that, that connection, but yeah, not direct. I don't know that you'll ever see a direct consumer coming to you, but I think it does give you some of that knowledge to help navigate where do I start to connect with my consumers. So I appreciate that part of it.
So not to put Liz and Alicia and April on the spot, but like how do these certifications and the stuff you learned there compare to say like what, you know, Sue teaches in our home modification business builder program?
I can personally say just from the 2 certifications that I have, your program is 100 times better. Not biased at all. But I think you guys have the OT background, and so you know what we're looking for, what we need. You guys are both already in that field, and Sue has done an amazing job of like, you know, what you do before your first visit, after your first visit, like literally broken down step by step what we need to do. And it's really geared towards OTs in this field, and that we're not, I guess we're just not getting that from some of the other programs that we're going to. But of course, you know, we don't know because we haven't gone to them before. I definitely agree that having CAPS after my name just helps. Other people recognize that quickly. But had I found your guys' course before I found Age Safe America, I wouldn't have spent the money. But that's just me personally. I think you guys have done a really good job of laying out the program.
We need to figure out how we can make a certification for it, because everyone seems to want the dang certification, and it's like,
exactly.
It's like, okay, how can we make a certification for this too? You guys can all start putting this behind your name. So, well, thank you, April. That's good to hear, because that's kind of, I mean, obviously that's the goal of the program, is to give you everything you really need to utilize, but awesome. Liz?
What I like, I mean, your course, I've learned so much, and from Sue and you and Anthony and the whole package, but you know, the support is amazing. So, you know, when you first start out, especially with me, Med B, I don't had no support, and I can just, you know, throw something in as a question and you answer, Sue answers. I had to think back what classes I took, you know, the ECHM, because it was 10 years ago, but your class, I can go back and look. You know, there's always something I can look back at, and I can always ask a question, and everyone kind of, you know, helps out and says, oh, I've done this, I've done that. And that's to me is worth its weight in gold.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Liz. Yeah, that's helpful.
One more thing really quick. I think the monthly coaching calls definitely is a huge additive, because you get to see where everybody's at, and you get to ask questions about, you know, what you have, like Liz said, what you have on your mind or what's going on with you, and you're quick to respond. I mean, one of the big things is when I did the H Safe America before I found you guys was I called one time and I was like, I don't really, you know, I'm just starting out. I don't know what questions to ask. I don't know where to start. Yeah, you gave me a ton of information, but I don't know what to do with all this information. So having our monthly coaching calls is a huge plus.
That's awesome to hear. We're actually, and we'll talk about this in an upcoming meeting or when we're all together, but we've had people that are already kind of doing the business that don't really want to take the full course, but they would like a group like we have for the monthly group coaching calls. So we're trying to process like what that would look like, or if it would look like, you know, so be thinking about that if you guys have any recommendations of that. So Alicia, your thoughts?
Yes, although the ECHM is wonderful. When I started your course, a lot of the things that you and Sue were saying, it was like, oh, I remember that from the ECHM course, in terms of the Sue does wonderful giving the background information and legislation kind of things, funding sources. So it was a great review, although your program was more in depth, and especially in terms of getting your business or the home application piece off the ground. There's, in my opinion, there's nothing else out there like it. I can't remember who actually said it in the home mod group, but that, you know, you attend these courses or get these certifications, and oh, you said it, Kara, but you don't know what to do after you get them.
Yeah.
So, of course, your program, your Sue's program, definitely shows you step by step what to do in order to make this a reality. So that's
awesome. Well, thank you. I'm glad I asked that question. You guys just made my day. It wasn't planned, everyone, just so you know.
I'm not paying them, I'm just saying.
But I mean, yeah, we've taken all that feedback.
Yeah, it's good. Some people are asking what kind of course we're referring to now. And so Next Level Occupational Therapy offers a training course for home modifications that's a hybrid, and teaching how to build Medicare Part B, but also building a hybrid practice. And so that's what we were talking about there. And we're looking at expanding some of the offerings and including some of our experienced people like Sheila in it as well, so that we can look at bringing in a broad network of experience too.
And then we have to figure out how we can get a certification. Just teasing. Okay. I'll share the link with it in the chat section too, so you guys can kind of check out, because it goes through, we had the first round started last May, and then we're just starting the second round. And so after the first round, Stu kind of revamped everything and put them in nice organized sections, or organized it a little bit differently. And then all of the awesome people who took it the first time had a lot of great recommendations and suggestions, and some ideas of what they would like to include. So based off of that, Sue's now adding a bunch of other new trainings to address the areas that they didn't, that they wanted more information in. So, but we'll share that in the chat below, so you guys have that as well. This is a good question. Do you recommend one get experience with home health prior to getting into home modifications?
I think so. Personally, I think it's great. I think it's a great, because you that's what you're doing. Like, that's just what you're doing. You're going to people's homes and you're looking at their bathroom, and you're doing what you do. But that's what I found frustrating when I did home health, because we only had so many visits, we were limited. And I did work with some interior designers that were redoing somebody's bathroom, but I was so limited. Like, I could only stay 45 minutes or so, I gotta go. And it was so frustrating, because we really couldn't that's not what the company wants us to do. That's not what they wanted us to do. So, but yeah, I think home health. How about you all? Chime in.
Yeah, I think home health, it's definitely beneficial. And we are doing that as OTs. But, you know, like I've had the same situation where I had worked where the contractor was there, but then I didn't have enough visits. So I had a discharge and I never got to see the final, you know, product with how they were working. But I definitely think it's helpful to be in home health.
And that's why the nice thing, like you were saying with Sheila, with home health, you're so limited. And that's why I love how we can transition the clients into the Med B in the home and can still work with these clients in the home to get some of this thing done. So that's awesome as well.
I just want to add a bit to that because I've never done a home health. So, and I'm doing home mods. I've been in OT for 40 years. I've worked inpatient rehab and skilled nursing. I mean, I've worked, you know, in 40 years, I've done everything an OT can do, frankly. Everything from a peds private practice in Australia and a workers' compensation private practice in Australia where I'm trained, to pediatrics, to inpatient rehab and skilled nursing. But if you've been client focused, you know, in the old days when we had our patients in inpatient rehab for 6 months when they had a stroke and whatever, that transition home was part of what we always did. And so that was part of my training and the skill piece that I came with back in OT school back then. We had to draw up home designs. So I actually drew my first home plans. I did draw the one I'm sitting in right now that's partially built. But I did have an architect finish it off for me. So I think given that part, it's understanding the client and knowing work with the deficits and looking at the impact of the environment on those deficits. It's helpful to have gone and done visits, to have seen what happens when they go home. And I think that's part of what home health helps you see. But in my situation where I was always, as the rehab manager or whatever, taking people out to their homes or listening to how it fared, working in outpatient and seeing that situation, having my own mobile puppy and doing home mods gives me much more flexibility to attend to that. And I have to say, in some situations, a really steep learning curve. And I just want to say, like tomorrow, I have a client who is, I'm trying to think how old she is, I think about 18, who is severely disabled, is in a family that has lower socioeconomic income status, but are living in a rental home that they're getting discount rent on, so they can't move. But the bathroom and bedrooms are all upstairs, and this girl is entirely wheelchair bound. So mom has been keeping her downstairs and has been showering her in a kind of temporary tent system underneath the stairwell to the garage. Tomorrow, I have a representative flying up from California with an $8,000 piece of equipment that we're going to be able to take her upstairs in, and we're going to actually practice that. We've scheduled 2 hours with this rep tomorrow. And so talking about how in this rental home, we're going to get this girl upstairs and into the bathroom, not pull the tub out either. We have a plan, and it's been a learning curve, but every piece of equipment we're looking at, I've also had covered by Medicaid before. So being able to help her in this way is just going to make a difference. I'm just so excited about, you know, what's coming up tomorrow. And it's great to be able to have those experiences and do that. So I think having a willingness to learn, being creative, being client-centered and listening to your clients, and being aware of how you can learn or have that network or discussion, or having the support on the boards that we're talking about, is going to help you if you move into that area.
Awesome. I'm just looking here to see if we have any additional. Oh, I know. I was going to ask Alicia, Megan, April, Liz. Can't remember if you said. Did you guys all do home health at one point in time before you did home mods?
Yes.
I did not.
Okay.
I was an inpatient rehab outpatient. And kind of like what Sue had said, I got to do some home visits as we transition people home and liked it. But I think too, if you're happy where you're working, but you have a passion for that, seek out time with an interior designer or a general contractor and just see what they do. Like I said, I was blessed that my sister does that for a living, and I worked for her company for a little while. I hadn't passed my boards yet for OT, but I got to work there and I just fell in love with it. And I went out on jobs as the little person carrying wood around and cutting things and bringing door handles. But I just had such a passion from watching that. And I think you can fit that in too if you're like, I don't know. And yes, the mobile Part B has been amazing because I think I would not have as many opportunities to see the modifications take place if I couldn't be there as long as I am. I just had a call from a general contractor who I referred a client to, and her husband has dementia, and I can see him long-term in that mobile Part B. And so now finally they're saying we need that bathroom remod, and we had a nice hour-long conversation with the general contractor, and I would have never seen that had it been home health. We would have just been done and moved on. So you kind of put in that long haul and say, all right, I finally get to see this happen. And we've been working together since June. So I probably would have never, been a part of that task. So yeah, I just think that passion, like Sue said, and Sheila said it, and everyone's kind of said, just to want to learn would be step one, I guess.
Awesome.
I have a quick little thing, Kara.
Yep.
I was texting with a friend of mine in Asheville here. She worked for the National Association of Home Builders in Washington, D.C., and is retired now, and has retired to Asheville. But she said it was 2004. She was on the group that wrote CAPS, the original CAPS program, and they worked with AOTA, she said. So that's really interesting. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, people that have been doing this for a long time. And I remember during CAPS, I thought, I want to find the OT who started this to thank her, because it was years ago, and it's wonderful. Wonderful. We can all keep learning from it.
Awesome.
I know a couple of OTs were just involved in the recent upgrade in the CAPS course that occurred, I think, 2 years ago. So, it's good we have that. And I'm seeing, on the AARP site, a lot of reference to occupational therapy now, and the CAPS, CAPS and occupational therapy go together. So we're starting to see the name out there. I think the changes in Medicare in the MIPS program and the changes that we're seeing with the CDC recommendations, where OT is the go-to for home safety. And they've got that in big writing, as one of the things where the doctors can earn credits from referring to OT to, those referrals. And I just had a patient call a doctor and say, I just got this information. I know it's an OT, but they couldn't have the doctor understand about mobile Part B OT. And it's like, you don't qualify for home health, and I can't get anyone else out there. And so this is another one of those connections that came because I'd done a presentation to a dementia group, and she knew someone and knew someone, but, we're starting to make an impact. And we are starting to get that there. And the key with OT, where we have the skills, is matching the client's needs and their unique setting, situation, occupational performance skills, knowing the progression of what they're facing with the environment. And so that's, I think, the unique part that OT brings to this. It's not following the ADA. It's not necessarily preventive aging in place or accessibility, though at some stage I'll take you on a tour through my new home that we're building here, where I have no steps at all, where we've got a mold bubble up from the garage and my walk-in shower, which are all great things that, working with my builder as an OT, he's now incorporating into some of his normal practice. But it's the unique piece about our client-centeredness and our understanding piece, and those skills that really bring out the contribution OT has to this market and where we're going.
Awesome.
And for some of you too, you were talking about AARP, you know, they offer a course called Home Fit that I've been a volunteer with that for several years and teach that. They just worked with a panel of OTs too and just revamped that course to make it,
Good.
yeah, all the pictures are more illustrations. So when you're talking to different socioeconomic groups, it's not such a glorious, glamorous kitchen like some of the glossy photos. It's all illustration now, just showing the things you want to have in your home. And you know, it just came out. I just was on a seminar this week about it. So, but that's a great way to learn and get in front of people and practice, because they give you a turnkey presentation and you can look in your area to see if you could volunteer and do those. Because I do them in all different kinds of condominium complexes and different groups, senior citizens, pre-COVID, of course.
I think rebuilding together is another way too that you can get involved in some things like that.
I'm just looking up this home fit thing. I'll put the link in the chat. Okay, any other last minute questions? Otherwise, it's late on the East Coast. Our panelists are ready for bed, if I'm ready for bed on Central. So it's getting late. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, you guys know where to find us. All of our panelists are in our next level group and are very helpful with helping each other out. So yeah, I don't see any other questions. So thank you guys. Thank you, Alicia and Sheila and Megan and Liz and April for doing this. This was awesome to be able to hear about all of the different programs and courses out there and what they teach us and so forth. So thank you guys and have a wonderful night. And thank you all for attending. Appreciate you guys taking your time to attend the webinar tonight. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.